Alrighty guys, Star Trek Picard, Episode 3, Season 1 came out last night, titled The End is the Beginning. This has been definitely my favorite episode yet, guys. We've been introduced to basically the rest of the main cast here. Now we have Dr. Agnes Jurati on ship. We also have met Chris Rios, and then we also got to sit down and see some of Picard and Rafi's past, and we just get to meet a little bit more of Rafi in general, and at the end of the episode, she kind of decides to hop on board. I'm pretty sure Picard kind of knew in the back of his mind what to expect from Rafi and that she probably wouldn't skip out on this opportunity. One of the really interesting things about this episode, guys, is that we've had a preview of all these characters for such a long time now. Kind of had like the whole cast like list and names and everything and names of their characters, but it's very interesting to see upon meeting these characters like Chris Rios and Rafi that they're extremely troubled and people who definitely have a lot of demons in their life. Dude, one of the most Gen Z things I've seen Star Trek do yet. Oh my gosh, dude. Rafi was literally smacking the dabber in this episode, guys. That's so fucking hilarious. I cannot wait till the Star Trek boomers are questioning why we have a dab pen in the 24th century, as if people in the 24th century just don't need a little bit to relax or anything. At the end of this episode, you basically learn that they're trying to find Bruce Maddox by heading towards this place called Free Cloud. Now, I don't know if this has popped up somewhere in the Star Trek canon before. It doesn't really ring a bell with me, but there is a unknown reason why Rafi wants to go there, and I think I can put a little bit of a finger on it. Dude, she's definitely going to the dispensary to get some fucking dab carts, dude. What else do you think she's leaving her home for? That's the only reason goons ever leave their home, is to get more drugs. Anyways, enough joking. That was definitely cool. I definitely like and respect Rafi. You could just tell from her character that she's somebody who's been through a lot of shit. Starfleet is basically fucked up all three of the people's lives that are on this ship right now, I'm going to guess. Really don't know much about Chris Rios other than his captain has been either murdered or he died in an accident at some point. Picard gets on Chris Rios' ship for the first time. It looks really cool, really well designed, super, super, super clean, which might be a little bit suspicious at first, like, come on guys, why is this ship so fucking clean? This is just some random dude on a ship alone. But Picard totally explains it for us. You learn that Chris Rios definitely used to be Starfleet at some point. In fact, it's confirmed in this episode because Chris Rios talks about his previous captain. Picard gives this really cool speech about how all the bolts and everything are up to Starfleet regulations. Another indication for me before it was even kind of explicitly laid out that Captain Rios used to be Starfleet is the fact that he was like reading a book. He also said that he's read some of Picard's books before. It's very common for Starfleet captains to be bookworms. Another thing that's really cool is that when Dr. Agnes Jurati got on board, she actually legitimately had to do some convincing. She was like, oh, well, I just literally killed a guy for you. I've never murdered anybody before. You seem like a very trustworthy and honest person, and I want to do this for myself. I want to go see Soji. I want to see that synthetic life form, which really is cool, guys. I can't tell you, like, this has definitely been the best episode so far. I instantly just really like the cast. If anybody has any criticisms of the cast members or why you don't like them currently in the story, please leave that down below. I'm really interested to hear. I personally am really liking the cast. Chris Rios is showing some like callbacks to basically the lore, you know, like Starfleet captains really like to read. It's very common for people who are seeking like command positions to just totally be bookworms. I thought that was really cool. Dr. Agnes Jurati, she seems like a very kind, nice, sweet, and funny character. So I just like her. Rafi, very strong. You could see that she has this really close relationship with Picard. She's ex-Starfleet, but at the same time, she's also very, very damaged. She's been living alone for like the last 14 years in some hut, vaping away and like growing plants and not being able to do the thing she's probably truly passionate about, which is being a Starfleet officer, exploring, and she used to be Starfleet security, and she might have even been on board like a ship and served under Picard directly. I'd probably go as far to say that concerning their relationship and how they speak to each other. Alright, back to Soji on the Borg Cube. We get to see Hugh this episode. One criticism I'd like to make. It seems that Hugh now has a lot of like human features. He speaks a lot like a human, but something I really appreciate is that once in a while, he doesn't speak like this all the time, but once in a while there'll be a few hints of dialogue where he's talking like Hugh from the original TNG episode where he's like, "Oh, I am Hugh. No, I would not like to hurt Geordi. I would like to stay with Geordi." You know, just very plain Borg way of speaking, and I feel like this should probably come out a little bit more. He seems to, you know, have grown a lot. Now he's the director of this Borg cube. He gives Soji access to this psych ward of rehabilitated Romulan. For some reason, it's implied that Romulans, after they come off of a simulation, like, they don't really mix well. Like, some people are able to come off of a simulation and be perfectly fine, like Picard, for example, during The Next Generation. But it seems like when you assimilate a Romulan and you try to take the parts out, it, like, fucks up, or maybe that's just this handful of people. I think it's implied that, like, the Romulans and the Borg stuff don't mix. I honestly think that we're going to get some big kind of reveal that the Romulans have, much like the Federation, experienced the Borg or something, like, way previous down in the timeline, and they were able to kind of, like, deal with them somehow. That's just my prediction, because it seems as though the synths, the Borg, and the Romulans, they're all interconnected somehow. You know how in that Enterprise episode, Regeneration, when Captain Archer actually comes in contact with the Borg, even though in, like, the actual Star Trek timeline, the first official meeting with the Borg, the one that the Federation, like, openly acknowledges, is Picard's altercation with the Borg and, like, the Q continuum and all that. So I think we're going to get another little reveal where the Romulans kind of disclosed somewhere previous down in the timeline they ran into the Borg or something, and through that they created this, like, huge beef with the synths, because it's not like they just don't like synthetic life forms. It's like fucking way deeper than that. So that's just my guess. It seems like the Romulans are researching the Borg cube and all this. Like, it's kind of a little bit secret. I don't know how secret it is, actually. I think the Federation could very well be, like, totally aware of its existence. I know that the Romulan moles and the spies are totally aware, like Commodore O and Lieutenant Rizzo. Speaking of Lieutenant Rizzo, guys, dude, she was rocking those Romulan ears in this episode. Fine apple, straight up, dude. I love alien bitches, and I am not afraid to admit it. Alright, now back to Soji on, like, the Borg cube and everything, because I always talk way out of order when I'm recapping the episode. It's just something you're gonna have to tolerate. Soji's on the Borg cube, and she basically gets the recognition from the director, Hugh. They've already spoken and talked previously. It's learned that basically she's learned tips from Hugh. She's, you know, actually just like a really good employee. She's doing her job hella well, so she's getting props. Hugh basically says that she's different. He actually feels like she cares a little bit about the reassimilated and the nameless people. So, for whatever reason, she's very adamant on talking to this Romulan anthropologist, I think she is. I think Soji says that she's an anthropologist so that they can, like, kind of relate in backgrounds or something. She's a scientist in some fashion. Soji basically goes to the psych ward where there is the reassimilated Romulans, but it was basically like a psych ward, like these people were just totally poo brain off the walls bonkers. But Soji, for some reason, and it's not really said, at least I didn't catch up on it, why she wants to talk to this lady in the first place, or really why she's so important. Because I don't even think she knows herself at first. They go through this conversation. It's really cool how they are bringing in the fact that the Romulans are just dummy shady in Star Trek Picard. I am loving that. I am loving the Romulan fan service, and how is, like, anybody else just, like, not hyped up about this? She basically has to go behind her and speak to her in Romulan tongue, because most Romulans, maybe all of them, have just a fake front door, and the only way you can really enter their houses is through, like, the actual back door, which is like a cultural thing that probably doesn't serve much utility, because if everybody has a secret, like, front door, then, like, everybody knows that all the front doors are bullshit. I bet it's just, like, kind of a quirky, you know, cultural thing in Romulan society, and I thought that it was really cool to learn that. Anyways, she talks to this doctor. She basically learned that something went wrong on her ship and that she was assimilated, and Soji's, like, spewing this out, trying to get this from her, but it seems like this is all information that's in her head, and it's solely, like, being spewed out because she's, in fact, like, a rare form of synthetic. And also because, like, this repeating theme of, like, fate and kind of this energy, in her head that's kind of pushing her towards this prophecy. Oh yeah, you learn in this episode there's definitely some sort of prophecy or mythological archetype among the Borg collective in some fashion, which is a really cool thing. It's kind of implied that within this Borg mythology or like religion that they have, that there is a prophecy in which there are two sisters. One is destroyed while the other is the destroyer, and that's basically all you learn in that scene. Things get a little bit hyped up, you know, she tries to kill herself. They save her just in time. Scene ends. Go over to Narek. He talks a little bit with Lieutenant Rizzo, and they just do some like dubious Romulan back and forth talking to each other. They're like siblings, so they're not fucking, I know that at least. 2 prongs down. Final prong. We need to go back to Chateau Picard and what happens there. Coolest scene out of the whole series so far, in my opinion. I mean, Daj kicking those Jacques Vache, like, strike team members' ass was all good and well. Like, it didn't really feel rewarding. I mean, she didn't really have to work for it. It's kind of like she knew what to do. A little bit Mary Sue-like, but it's fine, whatever. Alright, guys, I've not read the opener Star Trek Picard comics yet. I will get to them. I don't know if I have to buy them physically. I could probably buy them in a digital format, but I would kind of just like to read them for free. Don't really want to spend any money on that. But I do know that you are introduced to Laris and Shaban, and you learn that they are ex-Tal Shiar members, and that they fell in love and they disobeyed orders. Basically, Picard put his neck out there to save them and give them sanctuary on his chateau, and they've been living there ever since, and they've developed this great, trustful, loyal relationship, and you really get to see that in this episode. They're talking about their plan and everything, and Picard's about to go off for this big, grand space adventure, and then another thing, a big fuck you to the Trek boomers this episode. Dude, I'm so disgusted with just the way that the Star Trek community, especially the older boomers, there's never ever been a moment in the Star Trek canon, to my knowledge, where Picard has ever openly, like, said, oh, I really like science fiction, I fucking love it. They were so mad about that science fiction comment in, like, the first or second episode, and I don't get it. Like, Picard has never said that he's liked science fiction. He's always been a historian. He's always found value in things that, you know, aren't kind of alien to him, something that he can't experience firsthand. History and the past and artifacts, that's like really what Picard's interested in, and they were just making a joke there. You know, like, people don't understand. People in the Star Trek universe live in science fiction. So when Picard kind of makes a comment about how there's a disconnect, like, oh, I've never gotten science fiction, it's a clear fucking joke. People want Picard to like science fiction, but it's not actually any written part of his character. But you know what Picard actually fucking is, guys? He's an explorer. In this episode, Picard proclaims that that vineyard was never really his home. It never really felt like a home to him. And then Shaban, I hope that her name is Shaban and it's not the dude's name, I'm just really like hoping that. Shaban makes the comment that you were always looking up at the stars, which is the same fucking thing that he said, I'm pretty sure, in one of the Star Trek movies that I've not seen. Because I've seen a lot of fucking clips from these Star Trek boomers complaining about these obvious canonical mix-ups. They're not obvious. These people just don't have any fucking critical thinking skills, and it's fucking disgusting. But yeah, no, that was really cool to see. And then, pew pew pew, they're coming for Picard's head, of course, since they're a bunch of NPCs they missed for the first shot. And then you get to see, dude, Lars and Shaban just kick these fucking Jacques Vache's members' asses, dude. Bow! Bow! Just stabbing with knives, dude, oh my god. I love how we're in the 24th century. We literally have phasers and disruptors that disintegrate people from existence, and these people are still just duking it out with knives. It's so awesome. The only cast member that we haven't seen yet is the Romulan Legolas, and I can't wait to see that dude chop somebody's arm off with a sword. Oh my god, I'm really excited. They have this whole fight scene that's really cool. Picard even gets his dukes in a little bit, but he's kind of winded because, you know, this dude's 80 and he's got like a parental lobe disease. So he's not really in the most, you know, top fit condition. Not to mention the only time Picard has ever truly tried to fight somebody in the next G. There were 2 times when Picard actually really tried to throw hands. First time is with that 2-parter, I think it was, when they were trying to prove the innocence of Worf's father in the Klingon High Court, and then one of those Klingons tried to murder Picard, and he actually managed to, like, beat up one of them, but then the other one was about to kill him, and that old lady came out and helped him. Picard isn't really one that's able to, like, beat ass. I would have liked to see Picard beat a little bit more ass. That's just because I'm a Kirk and Sisko fanboy, and I like seeing Star Trek captains, like, beat ass in the Star Trek universe. But yeah, guys, that whole fight scene was really awesome. Agnes came in with the shot at the end. She was like, oh, maybe it was on stun. Romulan disruptors don't have stun, which, that might be a canonical, like, fuck up. I don't know if that's actually true. But no, maybe that really is the case. I kind of need to do a little bit more research. Anyways, guys, I definitely give this episode, like, in relation to the other episodes, like, solid, like, 8.5, 9 out of 10. Like, I really enjoyed it. I was entertained and thrilled the whole time, and there was even some moments of just, like, common sense Trek fan service that just really hyped me up. And also, every episode, I just keep on noticing, like, small details. They're just like a little bit of a fuck you to the Star Trek boomers who really look at Kurtzman Trek just because they call it Kurtzman Trek. Like, Alex Kurtzman does such a fucking bad job or something. It really isn't that bad, guys. In fact, I found a lot of enjoyment in the new and modern Star Trek. I feel like they just fucking put so much emphasis on, like, taking one clip and then putting another clip right next to it and be like, oh, this is clear canonical mistake. No, it's not. It really isn't. There are so many canonical mistakes and differences between the original series and the next generation. People were bitching about it back then. People are gonna bitch about it now. But the only thing that matters is that Trek continues to have Trek themes, and that Trek continues to be progressive, and Trek continues to be entertaining. Like, that's all I really care about. But anyways, guys, let me know what you thought about this episode. I really enjoyed it. I am also pretty clueless. They're doing a pretty good job about keeping the viewer in the dark on the whole conclusion of this prophecy, and, you know, the stuff that we really don't know yet. There isn't really a lot of context clues that we could smack together to get a clear and concise guess on what's going to happen. So with that as a plus, I remain excited. Anyways, guys, that was my recap and kind of review of Star Trek Picard Episode 3. The end is the beginning. I'm really looking forward to next week's episode. I just think it's gonna get better, guys. Especially now that we're rolling. We got the cast members together for the most part, and we're actually in a starship. Alrighty, guys, if you enjoyed the video, please slap a like on it. If you like the content you're seeing, I'd be very flattered if you were to subscribe. And with that, I'm gonna have to see you in the next one.